The signal came from deep space, faint but unmistakable. For the first time in human history, Earth confirmed the existence of intelligent alien life. The Nelvari civilization broadcast patterns too perfect to be natural, too complex to be random. After decades of silence, the stars finally answered. Captain Alex Morgan stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching as his crew prepared for humanity's first diplomatic mission beyond their solar system. The ship represented Earth's finest technology, sleek, powerful, and equipped with the newly developed Alcubierre drive that allowed faster-than-light travel. Still, compared to what they knew of Nelvari capabilities, the Horizon was like a wooden canoe beside a nuclear submarine. "Final checks complete, Captain," said Lieutenant Olivia Wright, her fingers dancing across the navigation console. "Jump calculations verified and locked." Alex nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Let's make history." The diplomatic team assembled in the conference room included the brightest minds Earth had to offer. Dr. Peter Caldwell, Earth's foremost xenolinguist, Ambassador Susan Rivera, with decades of international negotiation experience, and Major Frank Daniels, military advisor, a precaution the United Nations insisted upon despite objections from the scientific community. "Remember," Alex told them during the final briefing, "we represent not just nations but our entire species. First impressions matter." The journey to the designated meeting point took 3 weeks. When they arrived, the Nelvari vessel waited. An enormous structure that resembled a crystalline snowflake, shimmering with iridescent energy patterns. "My God," whispered Susan, "it's beautiful." The Nelvari welcomed them aboard their ship with what seemed like genuine warmth. Tall, slender beings with luminescent skin and eyes that reflected starlight. They communicated through a combination of sounds and color patterns that Dr. Caldwell's translation algorithms struggled to interpret. For 2 days, exchanges went smoothly. The Nelvari shared knowledge of nearby star systems and expressed interest in human art and music. They spoke of a galactic coalition of species working together for mutual benefit. When Alex asked about joining this coalition, the Nelvari representatives grew still. "Your species shows great potential," the lead Nelvari said through the translator. "But you must abandon certain research directions. Your work in quantum computing and neural interfacing follows a dangerous path." Ambassador Rivera frowned. "With respect, those technologies are fundamental to our future development. We're willing to discuss regulations, but—" "Non-negotiable," interrupted the Nelvari. "Your compliance ensures stability. Your resistance threatens all." The atmosphere changed instantly. Major Daniels stepped forward. "Are you threatening us?" The Nelvari's skin flickered with dark patterns. "We offer guidance. Resistance has consequences." Alex attempted to salvage the situation. "Perhaps we misunderstand each other. Let's take time to—" Without warning, energy fields activated throughout the room. 3 of the diplomatic team collapsed immediately. Dr. Caldwell screamed as strange light enveloped him. "Run!" Major Daniels shouted, drawing his sidearm. He fired at the nearest control panel before falling to his knees, blood streaming from his eyes. Alex grabbed Lieutenant Wright's arm and pulled her toward the docking bay. Behind them, Ambassador Rivera tried to reason with the Nelvari even as she struggled to breathe. "This isn't diplomacy," she gasped. "This is execution." Alarms blared as Alex and Olivia fought their way back to the Horizon. Only 5 of the original 14-member team made it aboard. As they disengaged from the Nelvari vessel, massive energy weapons powered up. "Evasive maneuvers," Alex ordered. "Emergency jump." Lieutenant Wright's hands shook as she programmed the desperate escape. "The drive isn't fully cycled." "We're dead if we stay," Alex said grimly. The Horizon tore through space as energy beams sliced where they had been moments before. When the jump drive engaged, the ship shuddered violently. 2 more crew members died when a conduit exploded. Barely functional, the ship limped back toward Earth with its terrible message. Humanity's first contact had become humanity's first interstellar conflict, and the enemy was far more powerful than they could have imagined. Word of the Nelvari attack spread quickly across Earth. Panic followed. Governments argued over how to respond while military leaders scrambled to prepare defenses against a threat they barely understood. The UES Horizon's damaged data cores contained the only reliable information about their new enemy. They outnumber us. They outgun us. And they clearly don't respect diplomatic protocols, Admiral John Martinez told the Emergency United Nations Security Council. His weathered face showed the strain of sleepless nights since the Horizon limped home. But we have one advantage: they underestimate us. Admiral Martinez converted an abandoned lunar mining facility into Earth's first deep space military command center. From this hidden bunker, he coordinated the largest military buildup in human history. "We need to understand what we're fighting," he told his senior staff. "Lieutenant Wright, you had the most direct contact with the Nelvari. What did you observe?" Olivia Wright, still haunted by memories of her fallen comrades, stood before the holographic display. "They rely on technological superiority and psychological intimidation. The Nelvari mentioned a coalition, but their behavior suggested it's more of an empire. They seemed genuinely surprised when Major Daniels fought back." Scientists worked around the clock analyzing the data from first contact. Kate Foster, a neurobiologist specializing in human brain patterns, made the first breakthrough 3 weeks after the attack. The Nelvari technology reacted adversely to specific human neural signatures. She explained, pointing to brain scan comparisons. "Our neural architecture is fundamentally different from theirs. They can predict each other's thoughts and behavior patterns with near-perfect accuracy, but human thought patterns appear chaotic to their systems." "You're saying they can't predict us?" Martins asked. "Exactly. And I think we can use that to develop shields against their weapons." Progress came quickly after that. Defense satellites equipped with Kate's neural pattern emitters surrounded Earth. Ships were retrofitted with the new technology. But everyone knew it wouldn't be enough against the full might of the Nelvari fleet. Then came unexpected hope from the stars. A small alien vessel appeared at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting on frequencies only the Horizon had used. Inside was a single representative of a species called the Voidborn, small gray beings with large, sensitive eyes adapted for the darkness of space. "We monitor Nelvari communications," the Voidborn representative named Key told Admiral Martinez through a hastily constructed translator. "Your resistance interests us. No species has survived first contact refusal in 300 cycles." "We're not planning just to survive," Martins replied. "We intend to remain free." Key's large eyes blinked slowly. "There are others like us. Subjugated species who provide resources to the Nelvari coalition. Many would join you if you could demonstrate real resistance." "How many others?" 27 species across 42 star systems, all waiting, all watching. With this new information, Earth's strategy shifted. They needed not just to defend themselves, but to show the galaxy that resistance was possible. A secret base was established on a moon called Sanctuary in a distant star system identified by the Voidborn as strategically valuable. Captain Alex Morgan, still carrying the weight of the failed first contact, volunteered to command the base. "We know their methods now," he told the newly formed Human Defense Council. "They isolate, intimidate, and then assimilate. But they've never encountered humans before." As Earth prepared for war, more Voidborn ships arrived secretly with representatives from other subjugated species. They brought technical knowledge, star charts, and intelligence about Nelvari fleet movements. For the first time, humanity understood the true scale of the conflict ahead. The Nelvari control thousands of worlds, millions of ships, and countless resources. Earth stood alone except for these few secret allies who couldn't openly support them. But something was forming in the darkness between stars, something the Nelvari never expected. A coalition of the oppressed, with humanity at its heart. The first Nelvari attack came 6 months after first contact. Their ships emerged from faster-than-light travel near Mars, a fleet so vast it blotted out the stars. Earth's orbital defenses engaged immediately, but conventional weapons barely affected the Nelvari vessels. Traditional warfare isn't working, Commander Eric Davis observed grimly as they watched another Earth ship disappear in a flash of light. Tall and lean with a strategic mind honed through years of special operations, Davis had been summoned to Sanctuary Base by Admiral Martinez. "We need to stop fighting like humans and start fighting like humans." Admiral Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Throughout our history, whenever humans faced superior forces, we didn't win by matching their strength. We won through unpredictability, adaptation, and sheer stubborn refusal to surrender." Davis pointed to the battle simulations. "The Nelvari fight with perfect coordination because they can predict each other's moves. They expect us to do the same. So we become unpredictable." Martinez nodded slowly. The strategy took shape quickly. Dr. Samantha Collins, a brilliant AI specialist, developed a battle coordination system unlike anything humans had used before. Rather than enforcing strict protocols, her system encouraged controlled chaos within strategic parameters. "I call it Entropy Engine," she explained to the War Council. "It intentionally introduces random variables into our battle plans while maintaining overall objectives. The more the Nelvari try to predict our movements, the more the system will scramble them." Earth forces began training in guerrilla tactics applied to space warfare. Ships would attack from unexpected vectors, then disappear before Nelvari could respond. Small squadrons would strike supply lines rather than engaging capital ships directly. Civilian vessels were converted into troop carriers disguised as mining ships. "They expect us to defend Earth directly," Davis told his pilots. "Instead, we'll make them defend everything." Lieutenant Greg Nelson led the first major implementation of the new strategy at a Nelvari mining outpost in the Rigel system. His squadron of 10 small fighters approached disguised as merchant vessels. "Remember, maximum unpredictability," he told his pilots. "No standard formations, no predictable attack runs." The Nelvari defenses, designed to counter conventional military assaults, couldn't target the erratically moving Earth vessels. Within 20 minutes, the mining operation was crippled, and Nelson's squadron vanished before reinforcements arrived. Similar victories followed. Earth forces struck and retreated, never engaging in the direct conflicts the Nelvari expected. Human ships deliberately acted against optimal battle tactics, sometimes even appearing to make mistakes only to turn them into advantages. The entropy engine evolved with each encounter, learning from Nelvari responses and becoming even less predictable. Dr. Collins worked continuously to refine it, using data from every engagement. "They're trying to adapt," she told Commander Davis after analyzing captured Nelvari communications, "but their entire civilization is built on predictability. The concept of intentional chaos is literally foreign to their thinking." 3 months into the campaign, Admiral Martinez received news he'd been waiting for. A small void-borne ship arrived at Sanctuary with representatives from 5 previously silent species. "We have watched your resistance," said the lead representative, a crystalline being called Shar. "No one has frustrated the Nelvari for so long. Others wish to join your coalition now." The turning point came during the Battle of Procyon. A Nelvari battle group cornered a human fleet commanded by Captain Laura Bennett. Outnumbered and outgunned, Bennett's forces should have been destroyed easily. Instead, they scattered in seemingly random directions, regrouped in impossible patterns, and attacked from multiple vectors simultaneously. What appeared to be a desperate last stand became a decisive victory when the confused Nelvari ships began firing on each other, trying to hit the unpredictable human vessels. When the battle ended, 3 Nelvari dreadnoughts had been destroyed, and Captain Bennett's fleet disappeared into the darkness of space, leaving behind a message broadcast on all frequencies. "We are humanity. We don't fight like you. We don't think like you. And we will never surrender." For the first time in living memory, The Nelveri retreat was not orderly or coordinated. It was chaotic, almost human in its desperation. Intelligence officer Natalie Parker had spent months decoding captured Nelveri data crystals. Most contained routine information, supply manifests, patrol schedules, tactical assessments. But the crystal she examined now was different. Its encryption was far more complex, suggesting information of much higher value. "I need more processing power," she told Admiral Martinez during their weekly briefing. Dark circles under her eyes revealed sleepless nights spent on the project. "There's something buried in these files that the Nelveri really didn't want anyone to see." Martinez authorized the use of Earth's most powerful quantum computers. 3 days later, Natalie burst into his office unannounced. "You need to see this now," she said, her voice shaking. She connected her data pad to the room's holographic projector. Ancient symbols and images filled the air around them. "What am I looking at?" Martinez asked. "Nelveri historical records, specifically records about us, about humans." Natalie highlighted specific sections. "According to this, humans didn't evolve solely on Earth. We were once spread across multiple star systems." "That's impossible. We've barely left our solar system." "Not now," she corrected. "Before. Apparently, over 50,000 years ago, humans were a major galactic power. And the Nelveri were terrified of us." The revelation spread like wildfire through Earth's leadership. Professor Daniel Wright, a xenoarchaeologist who had been studying alien artifacts since before first contact, was called to Sanctuary Base to examine the translated records. "These match symbols we found in ancient sites on Earth," he confirmed, comparing the Nelveri records with his own research. "We always assumed they were simply prehistoric human attempts to describe astronomical events. But they're much more. They're fragments of our lost history." According to the Nelveri records, ancient humans possessed abilities beyond current human capabilities: enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and most concerning to the Nelveri, unpredictable psionic potential. Unlike other species whose abilities developed along predictable paths, human capabilities were chaotic, impossible to counter systematically. The Nelveri rose to power after humanity mysteriously declined, Professor Wright explained to the assembled Human Defense Council. They'd spent millennia developing their orderly, predictable coalition. When they detected our re-emergence as a spacefaring species, they didn't see new allies. They saw the return of their ancient nightmare. Admiral Martinez frowned. "Are you saying they attacked us because of what we might become, not what we are now?" "Precisely," Wright nodded. "And there's more. These records suggest our current physical and mental limitations aren't natural. Something happened to humanity, something that suppressed our full potential." Dr. Kate Foster, who had been quietly analyzing the biological data, stood up. "The Nelveri records include genetic comparisons between ancient and modern humans. There are sequences present in the ancient samples that lie dormant in our current DNA, switched off somehow. Can they be reactivated?" someone asked. The room fell silent as the implications settled over everyone. "Theoretically, yes," Kate replied carefully. "But we don't know what exactly would happen. We could unlock abilities that help us survive this war, or we could unleash something we can't control." The debate lasted for days. Some argued that humanity had no choice. Facing extinction by the Nelveri, any advantage must be pursued. Others warned that tampering with human genetics based on alien records was too dangerous. Captain Alex Morgan, who had witnessed Nelveri brutality firsthand, finally spoke up. "We didn't start this war. We didn't choose this path. But if our ancestors once stood against the darkness between stars, perhaps that legacy still lives within us. I volunteer to be the first test subject." The decision wasn't made lightly. Earth's remaining ethical councils debated the moral implications, while scientists carefully translated the ancient activation sequences. Finally, in a secure laboratory on Sanctuary Base, Dr. Foster administered the treatment to 12 volunteers, including Captain Morgan. For 72 hours, nothing happened. Then Morgan woke from a fitful sleep, his eyes glowing slightly in the darkened room, his mind filled with possibilities that hadn't existed before. "I remember," he whispered, though he couldn't explain exactly what he remembered. "I understand now why they fear us." The awakening had begun. The Nelvari Supreme Command gathered on their flagship, the Eternal Dominance. Reports from across the galaxy troubled them deeply. Human resistance had lasted far longer than any models predicted. Worse, their unorthodox tactics were inspiring rebellion among previously docile servant species. "The situation requires decisive action," declared High Commander Varric, his luminescent skin flashing with patterns of determination. "We will crush this human infestation with overwhelming force." The largest armada in Nelvari history assembled. Over 3,000 vessels ranging from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts. Their target, Earth's solar system. Their mission, complete eradication of humanity. Earth's early warning systems detected the approaching fleet when it was still 2 weeks away. "They're coming in force," Admiral Martinez informed Earth's unified command. "More ships than we've ever faced. This is their endgame." Humanity prepared for what might be its final stand. Civilian populations were evacuated to underground shelters. Every functional ship was armed and deployed. Among them were the 12 volunteers from Dr. Foster's program, now numbering over 200 as more had undergone the awakening process. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper led a squadron of these enhanced soldiers. His body showed no outward changes, but his mind operated with heightened awareness, and his reflexes had become almost precognitive. Still, facing the vast Nelvari fleet, even he felt the cold grip of fear. "We are outnumbered 10-1, he told his squad as they prepared their ships. "But remember, they think in straight lines. We think around corners." The battle began at the edge of the solar system. Human vessels, following the entropy engine's unpredictable patterns, engaged the front line of the Nelvari fleet. Enhanced pilots like Cooper performed maneuvers that should have been impossible, their ships dancing through enemy fire. For 3 days, the battle raged across the outer planets. Human forces struck, retreated, and struck again from unexpected vectors. They used Pluto's orbit for gravitational slingshots, hid in Saturn's rings, and converted Jupiter's moons into makeshift fortresses. Despite their valiant efforts, humanity was gradually pushed back toward Earth. Ships were lost. Good people died. The Nelvari advance continued relentlessly. "Fall back to Mars," ordered Admiral Martinez as the outer defense line collapsed. His voice remained steady despite the grim situation. "Make them fight for every meter of space." Lieutenant Cooper's squadron was assigned to defend Phobos, the innermost moon of Mars. With only 15 ships remaining from his original 40, he faced a Nelvari attack group of over 200 vessels. "This is where we hold," he told his pilots. "Not one enemy ship passes Phobos." What followed would later be called the Miracle of Phobos. Cooper's squadron, though heavily outnumbered, refused to yield. When their weapons were depleted, they rammed Nelvari ships. When their engines failed, they used the moon's low gravity to launch themselves bodily at enemy vessels. When communication systems went dark, they fought on individually, somehow maintaining their coordinated defense. The Nelvari commander, frustrated by the inexplicable resistance, committed more and more ships to overwhelm the small human force. In doing so, he neglected his flank, exactly as the entropy engine had predicted. Captain Morgan, leading Earth's main counterattack, struck the exposed Nelvari position with devastating effect. Enhanced by the awakening, he coordinated the attack with almost supernatural precision. "The Nelvari expect us to break," Morgan transmitted to all human forces. "They expect us to calculate odds and surrender when defeat seems inevitable. They don't understand that humans don't quit. We don't surrender. We fight harder when victory seems impossible." Something extraordinary happened then. The Nelvari attack faltered as their perfect coordination broke down. Their ships began to move erratically, as if confused by conflicting orders. Later analysis would reveal that the enhanced humans were unconsciously projecting psionic interference into Nelvari communication systems. After 9 days of continuous battle, the unthinkable occurred. The Nelvari fleet began to withdraw. Lieutenant Cooper, bloodied and exhausted, watched from the battered bridge of his last functioning ship as enemy vessels retreated into faster-than-light jumps. "They're leaving," his weapons officer asked in disbelief. "They're not leaving," Cooper replied, a tired smile forming on his face. "They're running." For the first time in their history, the Nelvari had been defeated in a major engagement. Humanity had held its ground, demonstrating a resilience that shocked the galaxy. And the war entered a new phase. Word of the Nelvari defeat spread quickly across the galaxy. Species that had lived under Nelvari control for generations whispered about the impossible, a force that had made the mighty Nelvari retreat. Rebellion stirred on 100 worlds. Admiral Martinez gathered Earth's leadership aboard the flagship UES Defiance. The ship, nearly twice the size of the ill-fated Horizon, represented humanity's rapid technological advancement during the war. "We've won a battle, not the war," Martinez cautioned as they reviewed the aftermath of the Phobos engagement. "The Nelvari will regroup and return even stronger. We need to press our advantage now." Intelligence Officer Natalie Parker presented her analysis. The Nelvari Coalition isn't just a military alliance. It's a political entity with representatives from all member species. They hold regular assembly meetings at a space station called Harmony Point. "A perfect target," suggested one of the military advisors. Martinez shook his head. "No, a perfect audience." His plan was bold. Earth would send a diplomatic mission to the heart of Nelvari territory, not to negotiate surrender, but to deliver a message to the entire galaxy. The Nelvari rose to power by isolating species from each other, Martinez explained. "They ensure no one knows that resistance is possible. We're going to change that." Captain Alex Morgan, now fully adapted to his awakened abilities, volunteered to lead the mission. "I was there when this war began with failed diplomacy. Let me be there when we attempt to end it." The UES Defiance departed Earth with a small escort fleet. Their journey took them through territory where no human ship had traveled before. Along the way, they were joined by vessels from races secretly allied with humanity. Voidborn scout ships, crystalline shark cruisers, and others who had chosen to stand against their oppressors. When they arrived at Harmony Point, the massive space station was surrounded by Nelvari warships. The assembly was in session, with representatives from over 300 species present. "This is Captain Alex Morgan of Earth," he transmitted on all frequencies. "We come with a message for all species of the galaxy. We request permission to address the assembly." The Nelvari response was immediate and hostile. "Return to your system immediately or be destroyed. The assembly does not recognize human authority." Instead of retreating, the Defiance held position just outside weapons range. Morgan activated a special transmission prepared by Dr. Collins and Natalie Parker, a compilation of evidence showing Nelvari atrocities, their unprovoked attack on the Horizon, and most damning, the ancient records revealing the Nelvari's deliberate suppression of other species. "The Nelvari do not lead a coalition." Morgan's voice accompanied the images flooding every communication device in the assembly. "They maintain an empire built on fear and deception. They attacked Earth not because we threatened them, but because they feared what we represent, the possibility of freedom." Inside the assembly hall, representatives watched in stunned silence as the truth of their subjugation was laid bare. The Nelvari delegates frantically tried to shut down the transmission, but the human technology, enhanced by awakened minds, bypassed every attempt. "To the Nelvari, we offer this single warning," Morgan continued. "Humanity will not be conquered. We will not be subjugated. We will not surrender. Every attack strengthens our resolve. Every battle teaches us. We are unrelenting." He paused, then addressed the other species directly. "To all others watching this transmission, you have a choice. Continue living under Nelvari control, or stand with us. Humanity doesn't seek to replace one empire with another. We offer partnership. We offer freedom. The Nelvari Supreme Commander ordered an immediate attack on the Defiance. But as the first Nelvari ships moved into attack position, something unprecedented happened. Vessels representing 12 different species moved to form a protective barrier around the human flagship. In the assembly chamber, chaos erupted as centuries of carefully maintained order collapsed. Some representatives pledged immediate support to the human cause. Others demanded answers from the Nelvari. Still others simply watched, weighing their options in this new reality. The Nelvari delegation, seeing their control slipping away, made one desperate move. Assassins hidden among the delegates activated energy weapons, targeting those who spoke out. But they hadn't accounted for the presence of awakened humans among the Earth delegation. Lieutenant Olivia Wright, who had survived the first Nelvari treachery, sensed the attack seconds before it happened. "Down," she shouted, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to push 3 alien representatives to safety as energy beams cut through the air. The New Order. The months following the Harmony Point Declaration transformed the galaxy. The Nelvari coalition fractured as more species broke away to join what became known as the Terran Alliance. What had begun as Earth standing alone against overwhelming odds had evolved into a movement spanning thousands of worlds. The Nelvari retreated to their core systems, abandoning outposts and fortresses they had held for millennia. Their once mighty fleet split as ship captains from subjugated worlds mutinied against their commanders. The empire that had stood for countless generations crumbled in less than a year. They relied too heavily on predictability and control, Dr. Samantha Collins observed during an Alliance strategy meeting. When both were taken from them, their entire system collapsed. But Admiral Martinez knew the war wasn't truly over. The Nelvari are weakened, not defeated. As long as they maintain their military capacity, they remain a threat to galactic peace. The final confrontation became inevitable when Nelvari hardliners seized control of their government, executing moderates who suggested accommodation with the Alliance. They began constructing planet-killing weapons, threatening to destroy any world that opposed them. "We need to end this decisively," Captain Morgan told the Alliance Council. His awakened abilities had continued to develop, allowing him insights that bordered on precognition. Not with the destruction of the Nelvari, but with their transformation. The plan that formed was unlike any military campaign in human history. While conventional forces would engage the remaining Nelvari fleet, a small team of awakened humans would infiltrate the Nelvari homeworld. Their mission, not conquest, but connection. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper led this specialized unit. "The Nelvari fear us because they cannot predict us," he told his team during the final briefing. "We're going to show them that unpredictability doesn't have to mean danger." The battle for the Nelvari homeworld lasted 3 days. Alliance ships engaged the defensive fleet while Cooper's team slipped through the chaos in a stealth vessel. Using their enhanced abilities, they bypassed security systems and reached the central governing chamber, where the Nelvari supreme leaders had gathered. What happened next would be debated by historians for centuries. The awakened humans formed a psionic link with the Nelvari leaders, not to control them, but to share perspective. For the first time, the Nelvari experienced the human way of thinking, feeling the creative chaos that had always terrified them. And humans, in turn, glimpsed the Nelvari desire for order and stability that had driven their conquests. "We don't need to destroy each other to coexist," Cooper told the supreme leaders when the connection ended. "Different doesn't mean incompatible." The peace treaty signed aboard the UES Defiance established a new framework for galactic governance. The Accord, as it became known, recognized the sovereignty of all intelligent species while creating structures for cooperation and mutual defense. "This is not the end of our journey," Admiral Martinez told the Assembly during the signing ceremony. "It's the beginning of a greater one." 1 year after the treaty, the First Galactic Congress convened on a newly constructed space station named Unity. Representatives from over 500 species attended. Former enemies, now cautious allies, working together to build something that had never existed before, a true interstellar community based on respect rather than fear. Lisa Morgan, daughter of Captain Alex Morgan, stood nervously before the Congress as Earth's first official ambassador. At 28, she represented the generation that would grow up in this new reality. "My father's generation fought for survival," she began her address. "Mine will build for prosperity." Humans entered the galactic stage with a warning that we would not be conquered. Today, we offer a promise instead, that we will be worthy partners in this great endeavor. In the decades that followed, humanity continued to explore its awakened potential. But rather than weapons of war, these abilities became tools for healing, exploration, and understanding. Human unpredictability, once feared, became valued for problem-solving across the galaxy. The Nelveri, too, found a new purpose. Their organizational abilities and long-term planning complemented human spontaneity. Former enemies became essential allies in facing the universe's greater challenges. On the 100th anniversary of First Contact, a memorial was unveiled in orbit around Earth. It depicted the UES horizon alongside a Nelveri vessel, with a simple inscription that summarized humanity's journey among the stars. Beyond the Accord. 500 years after the signing of the Accord, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. What began as humanity's desperate stand against annihilation had evolved into an age of unprecedented cooperation and discovery. Jake Miller stood at the observation deck of the Explorer-class vessel Boundless Journey. At 19, he was the youngest human ever selected for the Galactic Survey Corps, a prestigious organization dedicated to mapping unexplored regions of space. The stars stretched before him, countless and inviting. "First jump in 10 minutes," announced the ship's eye. The crew, a mix of 17 different species, continued their preparations with practiced efficiency. Jake's gaze drifted to his hands. Like most humans born after the Great Awakening, his abilities had manifested during puberty. Nothing dramatic, just enhanced spatial awareness and unusual empathic sensitivity. Each human now developed unique aspects of their species' unlocked potential, creating a diversity of abilities that defied categorization. "Nervous about your first deep space survey?" asked Kira, the ship's Nelveri science officer. Her luminescent patterns showed friendly curiosity, an emotion that would have been considered dangerous weakness by her ancestors. "A little," Jake admitted. "My family has always stayed close to Alliance space." Kira's skin flickered with amusement. "Ironic that you would be the cautious one. For centuries, it was humans who pushed boundaries while my people counseled restraint." The relationship between humans and Nelveri had evolved into something remarkable. Ancient enemies had become essential partners. Nelveri precision complemented human intuition. Nelveri long-term planning balanced human spontaneity. Together, they formed the backbone of a galactic civilization that embraced both order and chaos as necessary components of progress. The Boundless Journey's mission represented this partnership perfectly. They were traveling beyond the galaxy's outer rim to investigate unusual energy readings, a journey that would have been impossible without both Nelveri navigation technology and human adaptability. 2 minutes to jump, the AI announced. Captain Sarah Chen entered the observation deck. Descended from one of the original awakened humans, she carried herself with quiet confidence. Her unique ability, seeing energy patterns invisible to others, had made her the perfect choice to lead this expedition. "Are we ready to make history, Ensign Miller?" she asked Jake with a smile. "Yes, Captain," he replied, straightening. "Though I'm still not sure why I was selected." "Because you have something we need for this mission," she said simply. "Something rare even among humans." Before Jake could ask what she meant, the ship entered its jump sequence. Space folded around them, stars blurring into streaks of light as they traveled distances that once seemed impossible. When they emerged, the view took Jake's breath away. Before them floated what appeared to be a massive structure, an intricate lattice of energy and matter stretching across thousands of kilometers. "What is it?" someone whispered. Captain Chen turned to Jake. "This is why you're here. What do you sense?" Jake closed his eyes, extending his empathic awareness. He expected emptiness. Space was vast, and usually empty of sentient thought. Instead, he gasped as his mind touched something ancient and aware. "It's alive," he said, eyes snapping open. "And it's been waiting for us. For all of us." The structure began to pulse with light, responding to their presence. Data flooded the ship's systems, information about civilizations that had existed and vanished millions of years before either humans or Nelvari had achieved spaceflight. "It's some kind of repository," Kira said, analyzing the incoming data. "A library of lost knowledge." Captain Chen nodded. "And it responds to empathic contact. That's why the old reports mentioned it activating only when certain ships approached. The discovery would change everything." The repository contained technological insights, philosophical concepts, and scientific principles beyond anything the Alliance had developed. But more importantly, it contained proof that cooperation between different types of minds, ordered and chaotic, logical and intuitive, had always been the key to advancement. As Jake established a stronger empathic connection with the ancient construct, he understood why humanity's journey among the stars had been necessary. The Nelvari pursuit of perfect order and the human embrace of creative chaos weren't opposing forces. They were complementary aspects of the same cosmic pattern. "We needed each other," Jake said quietly. "Not just humans and Nelvari, but all species. Different perspectives, seeing the same universe."